Are any of us really responsible for our actions? Was it my fault that today I had 3 fudge ice cream bars, or had that already been predetermined? Well, before we get into the real meat of this question, we need to know these two terms: determinism and free will. Determinism is the doctrine that we are ultimately predetermined by external causes and that we cannot be held morally responsible for our actions, because we never had a choice to begin with. Free will is the choice to act of your own volition and without the constraint of necessity or fate. Let's take, for example, Oedipus. Long, long ago in the city of Thebes, King Laius consults an oracle. The oracle says, "Hey, it looks like your son is going to kill you and have some pretty nasty relations with your wife." Well, like any good father, Laius takes the boy away from Thebes and decides to pierce the boy's ankles and leave him to die in a forest. Some passers-by look at him and with great pity take him back to their house where they raise him as their own. Oedipus learns of the prophecy and, believing the people who took him were his actual parents, tries to avoid it by leaving for Thebes. Fast forward a bit later, and Oedipus gets into a tussle with a man in a carriage. In an act of rage, he murders the man who, unbeknownst to him, is actually his biological father. Oedipus carries on, and he meets a sphinx. "Hey Oedipus," says the sphinx, "what has 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 at night?" "A baby, a man, and an elder," he says. The sphinx proceeds to fall off the stone it lays upon and dies. As Oedipus reaches Thebes, the oracle that says that any man who kills the sphinx takes the throne and along with it takes the queen as well. Oedipus ends up marrying his mother, who, upon finding out that Oedipus is her son, kills herself. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say none of us have really experienced anything quite similar to this, but it does raise the question, did Oedipus ever really have a choice? Well, a simple example advocating free will is this. When two chemicals react, there is no sense in imagining that they could behave in any other way than the way that they do. However, when two people come together, they can agree, fall out, come to a compromise, start a fight, and so on. The permutations are endless, and in order to understand their behavior, we would need to understand what each party to the relationship chooses to do. Now, deterministic logic dictates that if the human being is part of the natural world, human behavior must be deterministic. In order to escape determinism, a supernatural element is required. In Western culture, this generally takes the form of a soul or a spirit or a higher self. For the believer in free will, this magical person, as determinists may call it, is able to make conscious decisions and choices which take precedence over the natural causes which govern the rest of the universe. Now, of course, creating a higher entity or soul is in itself beautifully deterministic. Now, obviously, there's no definitive answer to whether or not Oedipus had a choice or whether or not any of us do. It all depends on our independent worldviews and experiences, how we interpret this. Do you believe you have free will? Or do you believe that everything is predetermined based on our preferences and experiences and that everything we choose to do was always going to happen that way anyway? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching this episode of Ponder.